All right, welcome guys to this new webinar presentation. My name is Alex Summerall of This Cob House, and this is a new presentation, and I'm going to cover an introduction to cob and earth and construction and natural building methods. So I'm going to skip some of the introduction here and get right into the material. Now this is a bit of a new format for a webinar for me, so bear with me. I've got this live video and I'm going to go into some screen capture video as well. I'm going to show you some SketchUp models and show you various components of a cob house. So I'm going to get right into it here, and we're going to start off. I'm going to talk a little bit about history of cob and earth and construction. So cob has been used for thousands of years. Same with earth and materials. Basically, earth materials have been used throughout all of history. For example, you can find 9,000-year-old adobe buildings in the Middle East. And in China, the Great Wall of China, much of that was built with earth materials as well. In much of the western portions, the more arid desert portions. So you can find earth materials pretty much all over the world. Most soils will work for cob and earth materials. Okay, so what can you build with cob and other earth materials? Okay, cob, in my opinion, is good for smaller buildings such as homes. Okay, adobe and rammed earth are good for larger buildings. And in the Middle East, even today, a lot of larger buildings are made out of adobe and rammed earth. Cob is very labor intensive, so in my opinion, I think it's better suited for smaller buildings such as homes, but that's not to say you can't build larger buildings out of cob. For example, in Devon, England, recently somebody built a 10,000 square foot cob house. Okay, so pretty much anything is possible with earth materials. There are some height limitations. You can easily go 3, possibly 4 stories with earth buildings if they're engineered properly, but you can't build skyscrapers and things like that. Okay, but I don't think probably anybody in this room right now wants to build a skyscraper. Probably everybody here wants to build a home or something small like that. So earth materials really are going to apply to probably all of you, I think. Okay, so the properties of cob buildings, and these properties apply to all earth materials: cob, adobe, rammed earth, super adobe, okay, any earth mass material. Okay, so the first benefit to a cob or earthen building is low materials cost. All right, basically to make cob or earth materials you need subsoil, and that basically comes from beneath your building site. So that's free most of the time. If you don't have it on site, you have to ship it in, but overall it's a low cost material. And the other materials you add to the subsoil are also low cost, and I'll talk a bit more about those later on here. So the next benefit to cob is it's good for do-it-yourself builders. Okay, it's a skill you can easily learn and pick up and apply yourself. So if you want to build your own home, it's something you could do yourself. The next benefit to cob and earthen buildings is an interior temperature regulation. Now I'm not going to get into the science behind all of this, but basically cob has something called thermal mass, and this thermal mass can help to regulate the interior temperature of your building. Okay, the next benefit is strength. So in the past, cob and all earth materials have been used to build fortresses and castles and things like that for their strength, because bullets and cannonballs and things like that couldn't penetrate a thick earthen wall. And earth walls also tend to last a long time. Cob homes, for example, have lasted hundreds of years. And as long as you have a good foundation, good roof, things like that to keep it dry, it can last for hundreds of years, many generations. So that's a great benefit, as opposed to our conventional modern stick frame buildings, which usually last one generation and then rot and fall apart. So the next benefit is non-toxic. Okay, this is great. So basically an earth wall is made out of earth. Okay, it's very few ingredients to make cob or these earth materials, and as opposed to our modern conventional industrially produced materials, which are just full of toxic chemicals and nasty stuff that we really don't even know about, but we're basically living inside of 24/7, in our homes, our offices. We're breathing this stuff in all the time, unknowingly most of the time. And there have been a lot of testimonials from people who've moved into earth wall buildings, and things like asthma and breathing problems and other diseases have gone away because of that. So that's a great benefit to an earth building, is you eliminate a lot of toxic materials from your building, and it's good for your health. Okay, the next benefit to a cob or earthen building is acoustic privacy. So earth walls tend to be very thick, usually 12 to 20 inches thick, sometimes more. Okay, so you've got really thick walls, really dense, and they provide a lot of acoustic privacy between rooms in a building. So if you've got loud stuff going on in one room and you want to sleep in the next room, you might not even hear anything. Okay, so the next benefit is termite proof and basically insect proof. So most insects are not interested in eating through your earth wall. There are particular bees I've come across that like to burrow into cob walls, but that can easily be fixed. You just cover the exterior of the wall with a lime plaster and they don't mess with the wall. And that's just in particular regions as well. That's all I've come across so far. But in general, you don't have rodents and insects burrowing into your walls and living there. Not to mention your walls are solid, thick, just massive walls, and there's no hollow space for mice to get in and crawl around and live in. Okay, so that's a great benefit. The next benefit is fireproof. So earth walls are fireproof. They're not going to burn up and fall down. Okay, if your house does catch on fire, your roof could catch on fire, things inside the building could catch on fire, but your walls are going to stay upright. They will take some damage, but they're not going to fall down. Okay, so that's a safety benefit to an earth building. Okay, so the next topic here is who can benefit from a cob house and how can you benefit? Okay, so basically, I think anybody could benefit from an earth building, but I'm not going to say everybody should move into an earth building. Everybody has their own, what they want. And some people like straw bale, for example, and they'll never move into an earthen building, which is fine. So, but anyway, I think a lot of people in the world could benefit from earth buildings. Like we said before, they're very good for your health. They get rid of a lot of those nasty toxic materials in your home. They're really nice, aesthetically pleasing to look at most of the time if they're done right. Probably everyone in here in this webinar presentation could find some benefit to moving into an earthen home. So I'll move on to the next topic here, and I'll talk about climate and what climates can you build in, and particularly can you build in cold climates. Okay, so basically I think you can build cob and earthen buildings in the majority of climates, and you may have to make particular adjustments to your climate, mostly for cold climates. Okay, in the past, earthen building was not done in cold climates, generally because there was no way to adjust for that, for the cold. You couldn't really insulate it. But with modern technology and modern insulation, you can do that. It's feasible. Okay, so it's not to say you have to use toxic insulation. There's a lot of really great non-toxic insulation alternatives now. So I'm going to say this: if you live in a really cold climate and you're wondering, how do I do this with earth? You can add insulation into the middle of your wall. All right. So this past summer, I did some research on this, and I went to Seattle, Washington, and I worked with a company called Firewall, and they do rammed earth buildings in the Pacific Northwest, Northwest United States, British Columbia, where they have pretty cold winters. Okay, so what they do is they have a layer of insulation board in between their rammed earth wall. So in the middle is insulation, and on the outside is the earth wall. Okay, and it really provides a lot of insulation, really makes for a very comfortable home. Okay, so it's possible. You can build in cold climates. All right, so next topic here is ingredients for cob. So basically, cob is made up of 4 ingredients, and that's subsoil, like we talked about before, an aggregate, usually sand, and a fiber, which is straw. Okay, the straw is usually a wheat straw, something with long fibers, usually a foot long, and these provide tensile strength. It's like a natural rebar inside the cob. It holds it all kind of together into one monolithic piece. So it's subsoil, aggregate, fiber, and water. You mix that together, that's cob. And pretty much the same for most earth materials. Sometimes you subtract the fiber, and you have different ratios between your aggregate and subsoil. But essentially, it's the same thing. And so that's 4 ingredients. I mean, compare that to modern, modern building materials, which, have a huge list of toxic materials. It's crazy. Okay, so it's just a great benefit to earth buildings. You just eliminate all that junk. Okay. All right. So next thing here is where to get ingredients. Okay, the subsoil, a lot of the time you can get right on your building site. A lot of people will dig up their foundation trenches, and the soil that they dig up, they just use to build their walls. Okay, if you don't have it on site, you can usually have it delivered. Sand's always easy to find. Any kind of aggregate is pretty easy to find. Usually you're not going to have that on your property, but it's pretty cheap to have delivered, and pretty much every town, city, community has that available. Okay, straw. Some places straw can be hard to find. You may have to find an alternative for that, but generally, at least here in the United States, straw is pretty easy to come by. Okay, and the last ingredient is water. There's nothing special you have to have here. Any kind of water will do. You can use your tap water. You can use water from a lake or a well. Don't use salt water though. That's probably the only type of water you don't want to use. Okay, so the next is soil tests. All right, so there's all kinds of soil tests you can do to test if your subsoil is going to work for cob or your earth material. And now they can get kind of convoluted and complicated, and there's jar tests you can do and shake them up and let the soil settle, and you see the different layers in there. And there's tests you can do. You take some soil and you feel it, and you listen to it, you taste it. But all these tests, I mean, there's probably some benefit to it, but really I think the best way to test your soil is to make cob, make your material, let it dry, and observe it, how it is. Okay, is it cracking? Is it crumbling? Is it strong? Is it weak? Okay, you actually want to make the material. Don't bother so much with all these little tests. So try out different ratios, make a bunch of different test batches, see which ones are working well and which ones aren't working well. And I think that's where you'll learn the most. Okay, so ratios are going to vary everywhere because the soil varies everywhere by region. Okay, so usually you're going to have a ratio somewhere, maybe 1 part soil to 1 part aggregate, maybe 1 part soil to 2 part aggregate, or 2 part soil to 1 part aggregate. Somewhere in that range, it'll usually lie somewhere there. Okay, so just do tests. Just test it out. That's the best way to see if your soil will work or not. Okay, so next topic here is cob mixing methods. All right, so in the past, livestock was used to trample over the cob material, and they'd step on it, and that would kind of mix it all up. Now we take a tarp, we lay a big tarp on the ground, and we put all our materials in the middle, and we stomp on it with our feet and mix it up. And that's called the tarp method, and that's pretty commonly used today without machinery. So of course now we have machinery in the modern age, and you can make large batches of cob by using machinery in a smaller amount of time. So if you want to use a tractor with a front loading bucket on the front, or a skid steer, bobcat, or a backhoe even, you can use something like that. So what you want to do if you have one of those tractor or a bobcat is you want like a 20 by 20 pad on the ground. I do recommend making that pad out of concrete so you don't get soil underneath mixed in with your mixture. It's just a flat pad, nothing's going to get added to it. Okay, so you put all your materials on that pad and you mix it all up with the bucket on the tractor. And I've got videos on that in separate courses and things, which I'll talk about later. So you can mix it all up on this pad and make a huge batch of cob in a small amount of time. The only, there's a disadvantage to it, of course, is you've got to make sure it's mixed very thoroughly. The tarp method, mixing with the feet, I believe actually makes for the highest quality cob, but it's going to require the most labor, the most time, the most energy from your body. So there's advantages and disadvantages to every method. I do like to use machinery when I'm building any kind of large building, because, I mean, who doesn't like to save time and energy? So the next one is a backhoe. The backhoe, okay, you can dig a hole in the ground, and that hole is going to act like a bowl or a bucket. So you're going to pour all your materials into that hole, and then you've got the backhoe, the scoop. So you're going to kind of mix it up and churn it in that hole like you're mixing in a bowl, sort of. And this, I think, is actually the fastest way to mix cob. And this is actually the method that the person in Devon used to build his 10,000 square foot cob home. So there's lots of ways to mix cob. There's lots of ways to mix all these earthen materials. So that's kind of the first part of this presentation. Now just give me a minute. I'm going to switch over here, and I'm going to get into the video capture. I'm going to show you some SketchUp models, and I'm going to show you the various components of a cob home. Now these components will apply to a rammed earth home, pretty much any earthen home or any natural home, straw bale, for example, light straw clay, and they'll even apply to a conventional home if you just want to do something conventional like a stick frame. So just give me a couple seconds here. I'll switch over and we'll go into the second portion of this webinar presentation. All right, guys, welcome here to the second portion of the presentation. And I've got set up here in SketchUp, and we're looking at a model I made recently of a tiny cob house. And it looks very conventional, but it's actually made out of cob, and it could be used rammed earth or any other earth building material. Could even translate to straw bale very easily. So we're going to be going through this model in this portion of the video, and I'm going to tell you about the various components of a cob building, and these components will apply to any earth building. Again, rammed earth, adobe, even super adobe, will also apply to straw bale, light straw clay, and pretty much any conventional technique. Also, I'd say hempcrete, these would apply to. So I hope there are no technical difficulties in this portion here as I just transition. Let me know if you can't hear me or if you can't see the video or anything like that. Just leave a comment. Okay, so I'm going to get right into it here, and we're going to talk about foundations first, actually. So let me go over here. So we're going to talk about what makes up a good foundation for a cob building or any earth building. So typically with a cob building, you're going to have a stem wall foundation, which is this portion here. This is the stem wall, and in this particular model I made, the stem wall and the footer are made out of solid concrete, and that's my preference. You can go with more traditional materials like stone, but stonework is going to be very hard to get through coating most cases, and it's going to be hard to find a stonemason who has the skill and ability to actually construct one. So anyway, the stem wall foundation, the portion that extends above ground, is what your cob or earth wall or even straw bale wall is going to sit upon. So the purpose, one of the main purposes of the stem wall is to keep the earth wall above ground, to keep it safe from water runoff and water splash back, water falling off the roof. So cob has to be protected well from moisture. It can take moisture, but a lot of moisture is bad for it and can get in there and cause a lot of damage over time. So we want to keep our cob wall well up above the ground. Usually a foot, foot and a half above ground is good, unless you're in a very arid region, like if you're in the southwest, like Arizona or somewhere. Many times you'll see very short stem walls, and that's okay in those particular regions because there's not a lot of rainfall. But if you're in East Coast, temperate climates of the United States, it's good to have a foot, foot and a half high stem wall above grade. Okay, so foundation, I won't get into every detail here in this video, but we have here, you'll see some drainage. This drainage, there's different ways you can do the drainage around your foundation or even underneath your foundation, but this is to keep water away from the foundation, from wicking up through the foundation and into the cob or earth wall. So this gravel trench acts like a channel, drawing the water away from the foundation and away from the building. So it collects in the gravel and gets channeled through the drainage pipe and out and away from the building. Okay, so I'm going to take you through this model here, and I'm just going to go through each scene. So we have a floor plan here. This is a 12 by 24 cob building, and you'll notice how thick the walls are. So most earth walls are thick, like I mentioned before, and that's typical. Makes them strong. gives them a lot of load bearing capacity and gives you a lot of thermal mass. Okay, then we see the upstairs here. Okay, so we have windows here on the south side, and this is particularly for a passive solar design. So we want to let that southern sunlight exposure into the building, and that'll help warm it during the winter time. So this picture here is showing a top-down view of the building with the roofing removed. We just see the ridge beam and the rafters left here. So you'll see that the roof sits on top of a concrete bond beam in this building, and that bond beam is connected to the very top of the cob wall. So the bond beam acts as a connector between the cob and the roofing, and the bond beam also serves the purpose of holding the walls together as one solid piece instead of separate walls. Normally with a cob building, it is one monolithic piece. With a rammed earth building, you usually have panels. So this particular wall would be one panel. This whole wall might be one or two or three panels, and so on. So the bond beam would hold all the panels together. With the cob building, the bond beam still helps serve that purpose, just less so because the cob is held together with the natural fiber rebar. But the bond beam also allows for an easy connection of your roof. It can be very difficult to connect your rafters or your top plates right onto a bare cob wall, because the cob wall is very hard to get flat on top, whereas concrete is easy to level off and get flat and connect wood to. So again, we see here from the side we have our rafters, and it sits right on top of that concrete bond beam with the bird's mouth cut. And just a little closer here so you can see that detail. And again, here's another top-down view. This is with the rafters removed. So we have our top plates on top of the concrete bond beam. And on top of the bond beam goes all the wood framing for the top floor. So we have openings for windows. And here we see the preparation for the second floor of this building. So I put a concrete beam. This isn't a bond beam, but it's a beam to support the second floor rafters. And it's built very similar. Solid concrete with some rebar going through it, and that supports the second floor and provides a flat and stable base for the wood to go on, as opposed to sticking straight into the cob, which again can be just a lot more difficult to work with. So the cob is going to be built up around and over this concrete and this wood. And there's some framing diagrams here for the bathroom. Actually, let me give you a better view of that. So you can see all the framing that goes in the interior of the building. And in a lot of cases, I like to use some conventional stick frame on the interior of buildings because they make for thinner walls, and it's easy to run electrical and plumbing through these walls, these conventional walls, as opposed to running them through thick earthen walls. Not that it can't be done, it's very possible, but especially for a tiny home like this, using a thin wall with conventional stick frame works very well and makes it easy to access electrical and plumbing inside the wall and get it to the bathroom here and the kitchen over here. So let me give you another view here of the finished house. And I'll try to get it viewed in here to the inside to show you a little bit what it can look like. So we have I'll talk a little bit about the windows and the door. So we have our lintels here, and these are basically large pieces of wood. They can be stone, they could even be metal. Anything that can support the load of the wall that is above the window or door opening. So then we have our window sills, and on the outside, I'll note that we have a drainage drip line right here. So that helps to keep moisture away from the wall. And this wall, I left this open here, you can see. So this is the edge of the earth wall, and then this is a plaster finish. So that finish helps to protect the earth wall from rain and the elements outside as well. And then this drip line, again on the window, helps to keep water away from the wall. And same with the roof overhang. So the roof overhang extends out about 2 feet from the building, and that keeps moisture away from the earth walls. So as you can see, I mean, it looks like a normal home. You probably wouldn't even know that it was made of earth walls unless somebody told you, or unless you had an eye for it. That was kind of the purpose with this design. So this was our stick framing and all of our wood framing, and I did just cover it in this particular model with drywall, so that looks very conventional. And then on the inside, on the earth walls, was completed with a lime finish. You could use an earth finish, but whenever you're plastering or finishing an earth wall, you have to use a vapor permeable finish or something that's breathable, so that moisture can pass through the wall. If you use a cement based or something synthetic, especially paint, those things could wreak havoc on your earth walls because they trap moisture behind them, and the moisture cannot escape, and that can cause a lot of damage to your walls and eventually lead to collapse. So it is important to remember to use vapor permeable finishes, which include earth plasters, lime plasters, and natural renders like that. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about a checklist for building a cob house or any type of house. So the first thing I think you want to do is develop some sort of vision for what you want to build. And that could vary greatly. So decide how big you want the house, how many people you want to live in it, what style you want it to have, what materials you want to use, and things like that. So develop a final outcome of what you want. And then you want to start thinking about cost estimates and prices of materials. So a lot of people do have misconceptions about Cob homes, that they're just cheap, when in reality they're not. I would say there have been people who've built Cob homes very cheaply, being very frugal, using only recycled materials and local materials. And I've seen some tiny Cob homes built pretty well for, a couple $1,000. But that's not the norm, I would say. Like this building here, I would say might cost you $20,000 to $40,000 to complete. And that's just an estimate. I don't know for sure, but that's what I think it would cost to build something like this. And this is a really nicely finished building, so you're really getting what you pay for, I think. But remember, the Cob walls might be cheap, but you still have all the other components. So we have a foundation, we have the windows, the doors, the bond beam, all the roofing and all the framing, all the finishing, all the shingles, the plaster. It really adds up. So buildings are not going to be cheap, no matter what. You can save money, but it's still going to cost you something, and that's just something I like to point out. Not to shatter anyone's dreams, but that's just a reality of building. So the next thing I think you should think about is design. And if you don't know how to use software like this program, SketchUp, that's okay. At least start out by drawing on paper what you want, and just developing your image for your building, and try to work out some dimensions. And you may have some design friends or architect friends or engineer friends who can help you out, or you may even decide to hire an architect or designer to help you on this stage. Or you could even go learn SketchUp. It's really not that difficult. If you're computer savvy at all, I think you could learn this program quite easily. So design is very important. You don't want to skimp on the design portion, because you don't want to make mistakes later that you'll regret, that you could have worked out in the design phase. Okay, so planning and timetable. You want to kind of think about when you want to have a completed building, and when you can actually get the building done. So earth materials are difficult to work with in the cold weather, especially Cob, because you're working with your hands with wet material, which is not fun in the cold. Things like rammed earth are easier to do in the cold weather because you're not so hands-on. But a lot of your foundation work can be done any time of year. So I might recommend working on your site layout and your foundation in the cold months, and then have everything prepared, like get your windows and your doors and all your materials prepared during the winter time. And then come springtime, when it starts to warm up, then you can start building your walls, your Cob walls. And you'll have all your materials and components ready to go, ready to insert into the walls. So by the end of the summer, or however long it takes, you'll have your walls completed, and then be ready to construct your roofing. And then if you have to continue construction into the winter, a lot of that work could be done in the winter time. So there's just a lot to know about building, and I understand it can be really overwhelming for a lot of people. That's how it was for me when I first started too. I didn't have a background in building or construction or architecture or design, so pretty much everything was self-taught for me, and it's just a matter of learning bit by bit, picking up everything you can, reading, going to workshops, getting all those little experiences, and they really add up. And it also helped a lot when I started designing my own buildings. I just started out drawing on paper, and really I look back now, the things I used to draw out on paper and design wouldn't even hold up today, but I made improvements bit by bit over time, and I started learning design software, and now I feel quite confident in design. The whole process from conception to design to actual construction. So it's really important to get educated, and I can't stress that enough. If you want to build a building, especially by yourself, if you're a do-it-yourself type builder and you want to build a building for yourself, I really want to motivate you to keep educating yourself. If it delays your building another year or even a couple years, it might be worth it in the end, because you'll avoid a lot of mistakes, and you won't regret it later on. So education is really important if you want to build a cob house or a cob building or any kind of building. So go take workshops. That's what I did. I took as many workshops as I could, and I just started applying these skills. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist or a professional architect. You don't have to be in construction for years or anything like that. These are all very doable skills. It's just a matter of getting the knowledge and then applying it. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about education and what you can do to get more of these skills in just a minute here. So bear with me. Hold on just a sec. So continuing on the topic of education, I want to talk to you a little bit about my online cob workshop course. So this is a course that I developed to help people who couldn't go to an actual workshop, a traditional hands-on workshop, either because they don't have the time or the money or things like that. A lot of people are just don't have access to these things. Sometimes they're just too far away as well. So I developed this online course to help those people. Even if you have been to a hands-on workshop, or if you plan to go to one, my online workshop is an excellent supplement to any traditional workshop. It honestly covers a lot more information than you'll get in a hands-on workshop, because typically in the hands-on workshops you're spending most of your time on the hands-on skills and less time on a lot of the background knowledge. So my online workshop covers a whole lot of material, and I'm just going to go through my whole information page with you here and tell you all about it. So it's a step-by-step video course. The majority of the course is offered through video lessons, and these are lessons and videos that I've filmed over the course of my own workshops, and I bundled it all together and put it into a system for you. So there's videos, there's over 10 hours of videos in this course. Okay, that's a lot of material, And there's also notes, and all of the video and all of the notes are downloadable. So when you get through the whole course, you can download it straight to your computer. So let me go through the 12 parts of my course here, and I'll give you a little overview. So this course is for anybody. If you're just starting out in any kind of building, Cob building or whatever it might be, this is designed for you, and it's also designed for an advanced builder who might have a lot of experience in construction and building and wants to get onto the natural building side. So there's something for everybody here. And so the part 1 is an introduction to Cob and earthen building and natural building. Covers a lot of design and site preparation and layout, and finding the ingredients for Cob, and laying out and building a foundation for your building. So like I said, it's really going to go step by step through the process here. So this first part will get you set up and going on to the next part, and that's where I teach you about Cob mixing, a little bit more about foundations and passive solar design, and I also go into thermal mass and insulation in that section. Okay, in part 3 we talk more about Cob walls, utility lines, electrical and plumbing, and I teach you exactly how to make large batches of Cob using a tractor. And then we go into windows and doors, and a bit about permitting. So I'll also talk about arches, and again, the permit requirements and codes. Okay, in part 5 I do a big section on earthen plasters, and I talk about hybrid building as well. If you want to mix natural building materials, such as part of your building being out of earth materials and part being something out of a straw, more highly insulated material. Then I go into roofing and more about natural finishes, and I teach you the whole process with these natural finishes, how to source the materials, how to mix them, and how to apply them to the walls. So just like with Cob, I take you through the whole process. And then the next section is earthen building methods and mechanized Cob, and talk a little bit about living roofs, and then I give you a whole section on Tadillac finishing. I mean, this could be a whole course in itself, and this is a waterproof lime finish. It was used in Morocco, developed in Morocco, still used today. It's really a really nice, luxurious type of finish that you can put over a Cob or pretty much anything if you wanted to. So I have a whole section on that, and that's pretty rare to find information on that. So I think that's a little gem in here for you. And then I talk about lime plaster finishing some more, and again the whole materials mixing and applying lime plaster. And then I talk about bond beams and roofing piers in here as well. Okay, and then here Tadillac finishing in part 9. That's where I go into really in depth in that topic and show you all the details how to do it yourself. Okay, then in part 10 I talk about basements and moisture protection, how to keep your earth building protected in a moist climate. All right, and then I talk about architects and property, how to find and purchase property suitable for your building. And then in part 12 I talk a little bit about earthen floors and how to integrate that into an earthen building or any type of building. Okay, so as you can see, it covers a whole lot of things, and there's actually a little bit more material in the course that I've added so far, but I mean, it's very comprehensive. So this, that was the problem I saw, is just people couldn't get to workshops, and I understood that it's a big difficulty for some people, And the solution I came up with was this course. So let me take you through the rest of the page here. I won't read everything off for you. I'm going to give you a link to this exact page so you can go to the page and read through everything in detail if you want. Some of the benefits though of joining my class, you can save hundreds of dollars, possibly even thousands depending. You can save days of time because there's no travel, there's no actual workshop to attend. You don't have to use your vacation days to go take a workshop. You can do my online course anytime you want. There's no certain speed you have to go by. You can do it at your own pace. And all you need is a computer with internet access. So you can do this anywhere, anytime basically. And then I have a lot of student endorsements on this page you can read through if you want. I've had hundreds of students take this course already, and everybody's loved it. Everybody's gotten a lot of benefit out of it. And then I give you a little example video, kind of the format that the class is set up in the online classroom. And you can watch the videos, you can download the notes, and that's sort of how it's set up generally. Okay, now I want to talk about pricing options for my course. And one of the things I wanted to do with this course was to make it very affordable for people. And this course offers you so much material, and I'm offering it for such a small price. It's really a fraction of what you'd pay if you went to take several workshops to learn these materials and information. So what I've done is I've broken it up into two options for you. You can pay either upfront for the whole course, which is $204, and that gives you everything, all the materials, all the videos, all the notes, right up front, so you can do everything. You know, if you want to do everything in a short amount of time, it's all available and you have full access to everything. Or the other option is you can pay monthly, so it'll be 12 monthly payments of $17, which equals to $204. And what will happen is, if you do the monthly option, is every 30 days you'll receive one part of the course. So going through the 12 months you'll receive the full course, and then at the end of the course you can you'll have access to everything, of course, and you can download all the materials then. If you choose to pay the upfront option of $204, then you can have access to everything immediately and download everything immediately if you like. So the price I think is great, and I also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you sign up and you realize you don't want to do it, then all you have to do is email me and I'll refund you the whole course, no questions asked. Because I made this course for you guys and I really want you guys to be satisfied with it. So basically that's the pricing breakdown, and again, you can go to the site. There's a link on the right side, just click that and you can see all the details again if you want. And so there's $17 a month or $204, and this shows you everything that you get included with these options. Okay, so I really encourage you guys, if you want to get more education on Cob, on natural building, I think my course honestly is a really great option, especially if you just can't make it out to a hands-on workshop. So I'm going to go through a couple of these questions here that I have on the site. They just answer a little bit more about the course. I'm not going to go through all of them, but if you are interested in the course, I do recommend going there and reading through, just so you don't have any questions. So, is the class one-time fee or billed monthly? So I talked about that. So you have two options: the monthly charge or the upfront fee. There's no long-term commitment, and every 30 days you'll receive a new part of content if you do the monthly option. Of course, your billing and credit card information is safe. I go through fully encrypted platforms with security. So if you get busy and you miss a month, you can still get the materials. Everything's always going to be there for you still. So if you've already taken a traditional Cob workshop and you're wondering if you'll still get a benefit from this course, I would definitely say yes. There's just so much information in here that, I mean, this took me years of work and experience to compile all this information. There's no way possible that you could go to one workshop and get all this information. So definitely. So how's the course delivered? The course is delivered through my online workshop classroom. Basically, all you need is an internet browser. You go on and you log on into the website, and it has all the videos, all the materials. The videos are streaming, so it's just like going to a website. Will there be tests required? No, there are no tests, so no pressure, no stress on you. And again, if you don't like the product after signing up, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so just email me and let me know, and I'll refund you. So how long will you have access to the videos and materials? You'll have access forever. If you get the upfront option, you can download everything immediately. But if you do the monthly option, you have to go through and make all the payments before you can download everything. But through the monthly option, you can always stream everything online. Okay, so again, here are the pricing options for the course. And for you guys on this webinar presentation, I'm going to give you guys some special bonuses if you join today. So if you join either the monthly or the upfront, either option, I'm going to give you the tiny house plans, the exact plans that I ran through in part 2 of this webinar. So that's over 30 pages of really detailed building design plans. So you could actually take those and construct that building yourself if you wanted to. So the real value in those, though, is not if you want to build that particular building, but it's a great sort of case study. You can go through those building plans and just learn a whole lot of information about how to construct a building. So you can pick it apart. I actually give you the SketchUp plans, so you can open it up in SketchUp and take it apart and measure it and look at it and modify it if you wanted to. So it's a great learning tool, I think. And I mean, I normally sell that for $150. I'm just going to give that to you free for joining the online course today, though. And not only that, I'm going to throw in my 2 ebooks for free as well. So that's over 100 pages of information on Cob building and natural building. And that's my most popular ebook. So again, if you sign up, you get the course, you get the tiny Cob house plans, and my 2 ebooks. So it's a great deal, and I'm only giving that to you guys for you who've joined the webinar presentation today. So I just want to thank you guys for coming on and joining me today. And that's the end of this presentation. And I really want to thank you for your support as fans and as members, because you guys really make this possible for me to continue this work, this research, and developing new techniques. So yeah, I really thank you guys. For anybody who's been around for a long time, anybody who's been a student of mine, you guys really make this possible. So basically that's it. I hope you guys got a lot of value and information out of this presentation. And if you do sign up for the course, let me make a note here to check your email inbox, because you should receive 2 emails, and one of those emails will contain your login details for the course. And a lot of the time these emails go to people's spam folders, so just make sure you check your inboxes. And if you have any questions still, just email me at alex@thiscobhouse.com, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, so guys, thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.